Banfield starts right now.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Tuesday night. Great to have you with me. I don't know if you know this, but I released a podcast, and I am dropping another episode this week. I would love it if you would check it out, because if you're a true crime fan, and I kind of think you are if you're watching the show, you gotta go to Drop Dead Serious. Check out that QR code. The series is really crazy. It's about a guy I called Uncle Peter growing up, who now in my adulthood is one of the most prolific sex offenders ever to walk the planet. From billionaire to jailbird, I got the secrets of Uncle Peter, and I'm releasing them. Also, go and take a look. Would love to hear from you. Leave a comment and a rating, even if it's bad, honestly. Here's where I want to start this program tonight. Again, Crime and Justice show, and it's a strange way to start the show. I'm not going to lie. Wendy Williams is not true crime, right? But I think there might be something going on that's criminal here. She's being treated like a prisoner. I mean, I cannot lie. She is being treated like a prisoner now because she is locked up in a facility. She's not allowed to leave. She's not allowed media, no internet, no phone calls, and now she's not allowed to talk to the public at all. No interviews. Judge just came down. And it got me thinking, now hold it. I get it. Guardianships are protect people, to protect them maybe from themselves. And that was what we were told about Wendy. But she's done some interviews recently where she does not sound like the kind of person that needs that level of protection. And this, my friends, is America. This is America. We don't lock people up without trials. And she has committed no crime. So on this true crime show, I am digging into why this woman is being held without these rights. Because something stinks in Denmark. I'm going to get to the bottom of it. Also, in the whole Menendez saga, they got to wait a little longer to get that hearing that they're dying for, right? They want a resentencing. They want to get out. The Menendez brothers have been in there 3 decades. And there just seems to be one thing after the other. Yeah, I get you, but now there's another thing. And 2 prosecutors in the brand new prosecutor's office are angry and suing. And they're being called Nazis. So yeah, there's some trouble brewing in the office that holds the futures of these 2 young men. I'll explain it all coming up in just a moment. Then I've got this case that kind of sprung from the Mojave Desert. And when I say that, it was not a pleasant springing. Woman is in zip ties, makes it to the freeway, the roadway, whatever you call it in the desert, and a sheriff's deputy happens to be passing by. And oh my God, the crime that deputy found. I'm going to go into that, but also talk to the prosecutor who solved it, jailed the guy who kidnapped and tortured a couple and left them there. They survived. That's the great news. But when you hear what happened to them, especially the man, you will not believe that the guy didn't get the death penalty. And you won't believe how the guy who did it threatened the prosecutor. All that is coming ahead in just a moment. You can't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere. But I want to start with Wendy Williams. And I know, again, it's a true crime show, but if you ask me, I really, really think that what's happening to Wendy is like nothing short of criminal. And I use that generically. I want you to hear me out. I hope you watch the show on a regular basis, but if you don't, I am willing to bet that you have at some point heard me going off on what I call secret justice in America. I don't like it. My point is always the same. It ain't supposed to happen here in the United States. I have been to countries where justice is secret and people get hoods on their heads and they get hauled out and thrown in a gulag and the parents never find out where they are or if they're ever alive again. That does not happen here. In America, real justice is open and transparent and public. It is not secret and gagged and silenced. And it is why we're the envy of the world. Why do you think everybody wants to get in here? When a trial is declared off limits to cameras, or court papers are sealed for unknown reasons, or lawyers or witnesses are gagged by orders, I am going to ask tough questions. I'm going to ask tough questions about the need for such strident measures in an open America. I get it. Sometimes there is good reason. I've been there. I've seen it. I know it. But more often than not, It is not how we do things, certainly without explanation. And here's where Wendy Williams comes in. What is going on with this one-time queen of talk show TV is going on in secret. Full stop. She's being held in that secret assisted living apartment. She's not allowed to come and go as she pleases. She's not allowed phone calls or internet or visitors that aren't approved. And now she's not allowed to talk. Just think about that for a second, okay? This is a woman who made her living talking to the public. And now she's not allowed to talk at all. Not publicly. Can't pick up the phone either. Literally, she is being banned from talking to the press and the public. And before you say, well, you know, maybe Wendy needs protection from herself. We all saw that documentary. Are you so sure? Like, are you really sure? And what proof do you have that she's at the level of the documentary? And even so, like, did they edit the scenes? The process that she's in right now is so damn secret, we don't even really know what state she's in right now, because the last time we had a clue was a radio interview in which she sounded pretty damn lucid to me. I want you to imagine for a moment, just stop and imagine for a moment being deprived of your liberty and stripped of virtually all control over your every aspect of your life, your finances, your health care, even your phone calls and your texts. All of this by order of a court, even though you have not been charged or convicted of any crime. Imagine fighting this every step of the way and having it happen anyway. This happens all the time. It happens all over America. It's called guardianship and sometimes conservatorship. Somebody close to you decides that you're no longer able to make decisions for yourself, and if a judge agrees, an appointee whom you may or may not even know gets the paid job of making your decisions for you. And again, I get it. Sometimes that's needed, desperately needed. I think about the 94-year-old woman with Alzheimer's who's preyed upon by some 35-year-old scumbag scam artist with his eye on her estate. Her kids at least have a fighting chance and help from the state. But it is not always that cut and dry. And the bigger problem is that the process is not as open and patrolled as you might think. Britney Spears was under a guardianship, put under it in 2008. 13 years later, she was still under it. The Free Britney movement led to those protests in the streets. And finally, the guardianship was lifted in 2021, for better or for worse. And while her Instagram sure does look troubling to me, there really is no law saying we can't be nutty with our own money and our own videos. Wendy Williams was placed under financial guardianship in 2022. In her case, it was not a loved one. It was a bank. It was Williams Bank that claimed that she was, quote, incapacitated and, quote, the victim of financial exploitation. The following year, she was diagnosed with aphasia and dementia. And after that controversial documentary, she was put into that assisted living facility. In legal documents, her court-appointed guardian, Sabrina Morrissey, has described her as, quote, cognitively impaired, permanently disabled, and legally incapacitated. And though Wendy Williams denies it, she has been in that same facility ever since. And now TMZ is reporting that last week, Wendy fired the court-appointed lawyer who was helping her fight her guardianship, claiming that the lawyer wasn't fighting hard enough. I don't think that happened. I really don't. When you're under a guardianship, you can't make those kind of big decisions like firing a lawyer. So I'm questioning that. But she racked up what may be her first legal victory since all of this started. It was a really little victory. It was big to her, though, and it was a victory nonetheless, because a judge has agreed that Wendy is allowed to travel from New York to Miami for 2 days to attend her father's 94th birthday. This was huge to her. TMZ reports that, A, she has to be accompanied by private security the whole time. We know this because Wendy talked about this last month in 2 separate interviews. One was TMZ's Harvey Levin. He was in a studio. She was in that studio apartment that she compared to a prison. And during their phone call, she stood in front of a window in full view of a TMZ camera while she was talking. Take a look at this.
Your dad is turning 94 in February, and he's up there in age, and I know you want to go to Miami to see him and celebrate his birthday because you don't know how many more there are going to be.
Right, exactly.
That must be important for you.
It's extremely important. It's extremely important to see my dad for his birthday, and that is a family thing. It's not just a me thing, I would wish that along with celebrating my dad's 94th birthday, that we as a family, we come together in peace and harmony. That's what I wish for my dad.
It's just jaw-dropping to see that. It just doesn't feel American. It really doesn't. Again, not without the openness and the explanation. That interview is part of a new TMZ documentary called Saving Wendy, premieres next week on Tubi. Radio personality Charlamagne the God was also on that phone call, and earlier that very same day, Wendy had called into his show, The Breakfast Club. And here's some of that interview with Wendy.
And to be clear, you can't leave. Like, they won't allow you to leave or have visitors, family members or not. So you can't even leave and take a walk if you wanted to, or take a trip or visit family members. They give you a difficult time for that, and family members can't visit you?
Excuse me, where I am, okay, you have to get keys to unlock the door to press the elevator to go downstairs. First of all. Second of all, these people here, everybody is like nursemaids, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? They come in and they give your pills. You know what I'm saying? And then they leave. And I'm
Which
like,
I told you not to take. I told you don't take them pills.
Excuse me. I've had 2 pills all of my life. Alex, you know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Excuse me, there are 7 pills. I have no idea what is this pill doing. What is it going to listen? I haven't been to a pill person in a matter of long time. You know what I'm saying? To the point where, excuse me, doctor, can you tell me what this pill is for? Excuse me, doctor, what pill do you understand what I'm saying?
Right.
Yes.
Look, for the last 3 years, I have been caught up in the system. I'm exhausted thinking about, what if I can't see my dad for his birthday? At 94, the day after that is not promised. It's not promised. I have things from my dad that's in storage. And there are little things that I say, I'm not going to give it to him, but I'm going to sew them and make them so that they look perfect on me. You know what I'm saying? Yes, I know how to sew. I've known how to sew for years. You know what I'm saying? But I'm saying, like, I want to give my dad some sort of fragrance. I want to go to Sephora and pick and choose. What? I might not be.
Yeah.
My life is like up.
So a lot of people weighed in on that interview. And some people said Wendy seemed more excitable, maybe even manic during that radio interview. But in neither conversation did she come off as cognitively impaired. Did both interviewers just happen to catch her on a good day? These were hours-long interviews. Or is Wendy Williams' guardian exaggerating or otherwise misstating her condition? This is where I bring in Diane Diamond. She's an old friend, an award-winning journalist, and the author of the book, We're Here to Help When Guardianship Goes Wrong. Diane, I thought about you the minute, we started to see these clips of Wendy at the window, because you know so much about the good, the bad, and the ugly of guardianships. How do you come down on where Wendy Williams is at right now?
I love the way you have couched this entire topic. It is, in my estimation, often criminal. It is criminal what happens to many of the up to 2 million Americans who are in guardianship right now. I mean, when your viewers need to realize, when you're guardianized, you're declared an incapacitated ward of the court. All of your civil rights are taken away, like freedom of speech, the ability to hire your own lawyer, to decide where you're going to live. You get no more civil rights. And then the court takes all of your assets, no matter how much or how little you have, and they put those assets in the name of a guardian. Well, that guardian may be a total stranger, as it is in Wendy Williams' case. Sabrina Morrissey her name has cropped up in several of my investigations. Some are in the book, some are not, but she is not a stranger to me. And I do believe that criminal things happen within the guardianship system all the time, and we don't know about it because, as you say, Ashleigh, it's such a damn secret system.
This is it. This is what drives me crazy. I want to give the benefit of the doubt to those who are guarding Wendy. I want to believe they are taking care of a woman who really does need the care. I just need them to explain that. And again, I keep coming back to this is an open society. We have an open criminal justice system, but we do not seem to have an open guardianship system. And I get it. Right. Medical records are private, but that does not mean that there can't be some explanation to prove to us, the public, who have a vested interest in this, and her own family, why she must be banned from speaking. Like, literally, that's what the judge has lately done. You are not allowed to
isolated from everyone who loves her. How is that helping her? How is that protecting her?
That's what I need to know. Is there because you and I have spoken about this before, is there a significant financial advantage for guardians to keep the game going? I mean, those paychecks, are they massive? And as long as everything stays status quo, that paycheck keeps coming in? Because if that's the case, that should be determined by a judge, not by the guardian.
Well, it is determined by a judge. And look, it took me 8 years to collect, investigate, and corroborate the stories in this book before I could get a publisher to do it. I can count on one hand, I think, maybe two, but one, I think, how many times a guardian went back to the judge who appointed them and said, you know, I don't think this person needs a guardian anymore. Why don't you just dismiss me and cut off my paycheck? That doesn't happen very often. I mean, if you're Britney Spears and it gets very public and you've got lots and lots of money to fight it. But Wendy is caught in a position where she can't fight it. She has no lawyer. She didn't just fire her lawyer. I don't know where that story came from. She has 3 lawyers working on her case. Judge Lisa Sokoloff has hired 3 high-paid lawyers to work on her case. 1, to represent her best interests. How's that working out? 2, Sabrina Morrissey, the guardian. She's also a lawyer. How's that working out? And then a 3rd lawyer to sue Lifetime for the documentary that the Guardian allowed to be filmed and then said, oh, gosh, you shouldn't have done that. Well, where was the Guardian when Wendy was on camera almost drinking herself to death?
Yeah, no, there were a lot of questions, I think, because that documentary was not shot in a day. It was shot over the course of months. And so it seems to me that somebody missed the ball. Yeah.
Actually, let me just say one more thing. I have never heard, this is supposed to be a secret system because, well, we can't, HIPAA laws, federal medical privacy laws, we can't tell you, let you into this hearing to understand what's happening. It's secret. Then why did Sabrina Morrissey break HIPAA federal medical privacy laws and tell the world, what did she say? Aphasia and frontal temporal dementia. That's a medical diagnosis, and she told the world that that's what Wendy has. Aphasia means you can't speak or understand language. Is that what Wendy just seemed like on those interviews? She doesn't have aphasia.
Yeah, and you know what? 2 interviews, and they were long. This was hours of conversation. This wasn't a few seconds. Again, I always want to give the benefit of the doubt. This was one day. Maybe she has good days and bad days. Maybe alcohol, without access to it, she is healthier. I don't know, but it's very troubling to know that a bank or the state can do this, and her own family can't get information, can't get access, can't, be a part of it. They want to help her, and they're being told no. Again, I don't know if they're part of the problem either. My big issue is that there's such secrecy. Diane, it's not the last time you're invited back. Thank you so much for this.
Anytime, my friend.
All right, just quick reminder, Diane's book is called We're Here to Help When Guardianship Goes Wrong. Diane Diamond joining us. Coming up next, it is no secret that the newly elected DA in Los Angeles has a different take on the Menendez brothers than his predecessor had. But career prosecutors in that office who backed Eric and Lyle's freedom now say they're being punished for that. Find out how they're fighting back and why they're being called Nazis, of all things. That's next. And again, it added months to to their chances of that hearing yielding freedom. And now there is a firestorm of a different kind. Tonight, 2 Los Angeles prosecutors, highly experienced, senior positions, who publicly supported a resentencing for the Menendez brothers, they say that their newly elected boss is making them pay. Both of them were demoted soon after Nathan Hochman took office as district attorney. Both of them stripped of their senior positions. And they further claim that the new administration slandered them, comparing them to Nazi sympathizers. Nazi sympathizers. I had to reread that one. This week, those 2 prosecutors, Brock Lunsford and Nancy Thaberge, started the process of suing not just the county, but the DA's office and Nathan Hochman, the DA, personally. And not surprisingly, Lyle and Eric's family, now they're backing the boys. Here's part of the family statement on the demoted prosecutor's behalf. I quote, their commitment, the prosecutor's commitment to the facts and the law was a source of hope for us, reaffirming our belief that the justice system's ability to evolve. The decision to remove these dedicated prosecutors from the case, however, underscored exactly what we feared, that political influences might overshadow justice. Our family remains cautiously optimistic. We have watched Eric and Lyle rebuild their lives over the last 35 years of incarceration, taking full responsibility for their actions while dedicating themselves to education and helping others. We are ready to welcome them home with open arms and finally begin to heal. Again, if you don't know this, the family members, they are the same family members as the victims, right? So they're not just like, we want our boys. They lost Kitty and Jose. That was brother, aunt, uncle. You know, they were connected. So we asked for comment today from the office of Nathan Hochman, but the answer was no comment. I'm joined now by trial attorney Ann Bremner. Ann, good to see you again. Thanks for coming on the show. I have spoken with Nathan Hochman a lot. So, yeah, he's not like, he doesn't give me no comment. He's actually quite forthcoming, and I think I've had him on 3 times. Good guy, nice guy. But this seems pretty messy, and I'm wondering, from somebody who knows the system like you do, does this seem or sound political?
I don't know if I use the word political. I mean, messy is the right word. And by the way, I've watched your interviews with him, and they're excellent. I mean, he's very forthcoming with you, and he's not saying a peep right now. But I think, you know, when I was a DA, our boss was Norm Mailing, and so we had 2 rules. Don't embarrass Norm and do your job. Gascon had 10 or 20 people go after him on retaliation claims, and one jury verdict was $1.5 million. So I guess it's political, that people that were not in keeping with his philosophy felt that they were retaliated against, and so they filed claims, and there were a lot of them. And now you've got that here. And the question really is, are they being demoted because of the position they took, telling him that he can't change his ways? It's got to be something that deals with the policy, not just, oh, he doesn't like us or he doesn't like our position. But one of them alleges, at least, that she told him, you can't deviate from what the petition stated before in the petition that we took. So it's a little more nuanced or a little more specific than that. But what a mess. And I don't know if with the family I'd be, hitched to the wagon of these 2. I might want to stay, at least with Nathan Hochman for now, to see where he's going, because he is the man in charge.
So, and speaking of that, in the outside world where I'm from, when a new boss comes in, they're allowed to fire you. Usually they bring in their own guys, and they bring in their own people, and then they surround themselves with people they trust and like and share their vision. Does it work the same way in the prosecutor's office? Yeah. Like, do these prosecutors have a right to just say, I don't like this, I'm suing?
That's the way I look at this, and I kind of think, I don't know where this is going to go. Although the other cases were successful, at least in part against the former prosecutor Gascon, but I don't know what happened there. But the fact is, the prosecutor can come in and say, I'm starting with all new people. Nathan Hochman is completely different than George Gascon. They couldn't be more different, and so therefore there may be people not aligned with his vision. He's very law and order. He's been a defense attorney. He's been a prosecutor. And by the way, John Lewin, who had the Durst case and now is in the Asaph Rocky case, the prosecutor, he's the one that was alleged to have said this Nazi sympathizer quote. And it's basically, I've got to look at the word again, but I think it's Vigilant. I've got to look with my glasses because it's...
Quislings. He called him, the deputy, called him a quisling in social media posts, and that's a slur that is used to describe Nazi informants. I only have like 10 seconds left, but what did that mean even? Why Nazi informants?
Well, I guess, but I did look it up, and it was a Norwegian individual with that name that did sympathize during the Nazi regime, but it's used generally for someone that's a traitor. So in defense of John Lewin, if he wasn't saying Nazi sympathizer. But anyway, it's just unfortunate because this is a huge issue, and I think that you have to give the credit to Nathan Hochman. Let him do his job. He got elected in a landslide. I mean, Los Angeles wants him and needs him, and so let him do his job. He doesn't need a bunch of lawsuits. On the other hand, if there's merit with these cases, I don't know all the facts, then they should go forward with them. But I just don't see that right now.
I'm glad that you cleared that up, because whenever you use the word Nazi, it's pretty nasty. So if Quislings has that secondary meaning, which is traitor, I can understand it. Certainly would have a different meaning. Ann Bremner, it's great to have you. Thank you for doing this. We'll see you again soon.
My pleasure. Thanks. So great seeing you.
You too. I've been interviewing Ann Bremner for, 25 years now, and I love every one of them. Coming up, wow, this story. A terrified zip-tied woman flags down a passing car in the Mojave Desert, and lucky for her, it is a sheriff's deputy, a deputy who had no idea what else he was about to find in the desert, and a deputy who could never have imagined the manhunt, the sting, and the jailbreak that were just around the corner. Straight ahead, jailing the mastermind of a grisly kidnap and torture case. The prosecutor who did it is my next guest. Business, it was a whole different world back then, even in California. Recreational weed was still years from being legal, though medical marijuana, that was perfectly okay. Sellers were not allowed to use banks, though. And back then, this man named Hossein Nayeri was a marijuana grower and a supplier, a legal one, for one of the most successful weed dispensaries in the state. The business was owned by a man named Michael. Last name withheld for a really good reason. I'll get to that. At some point, Mr. Nayeri got it in his head that Michael, no last name, owner of a booming cash-only business, had $1 million buried in the Mojave Desert somewhere. So late one night in October, Mr. Nayeri and a fellow grower named Kyle Handley stormed into Michael, no last name's house at gunpoint, kidnapped Michael, and also his housemate, a woman named Mary Barnes. They blindfolded that couple, they gagged them, they zip-tied them, and drove them 140 miles into the pitch-black desert. When he could speak, Michael, no last name, denied having $1 million in the desert or anywhere else. But the kidnappers, they didn't believe him. They thought that they could torture the truth out of him. So they beat Michael, and they tased Michael, and they burned him with a blowtorch. But Michael's story didn't change. He didn't have money. So in a final act of torturing depravity, they cut off Michael's penis and they doused him with bleach. Through all of this, Mary, the housemate, was unharmed, at least compared to Michael. And when the attackers left, somehow she was able to find a knife that they had thrown or dropped and free her legs from the zip ties and run for help. She was able to get to the road, flag down a passing car, turned out to be a sheriff's deputy. And remarkably, Michael survived. What followed was an international manhunt, and then a sting operation, and then a jailbreak, and eventually multiple trials, ending in multiple convictions. The whole story is laid out in an ABC News documentary called The Wicked Game, Devil in the Desert. Take a look.
I heard them backing a vehicle into the garage, and I knew that they were going to take us somewhere. I remember feeling the pistol pressed against my neck.
They began demanding money, and when Michael said there is no money, they dragged him out of the van.
And this is where it gets really horrible.
We have 2 bodies dumped.
Ankles were bound together.
The men tortured the victim by beating, tasing, and burning him.
Zip-tied and bound, they poured bleach on his open wounds.
The victim is also the victim of a sexual assault.
The guy was cutting off my roommate's penis. It was like a bad dream.
This crime was horrific.
We're collecting all this evidence.
We got a hit to a known felon. But by the time we get this information, our mastermind fled back to his native country.
How do we lure him back from Iraq?
we turn his wife against him to catch him.
You know how much your wife loves you, right?
I do. He was funny and charming. I thought I loved him.
I'm going to see him.
I'm busting my fingers.
Right when he got off the plane,
I get a call and they tell me that he's been arrested.
We had our guy. We're good. Until it wasn't.
oh my God, are you kidding me right now?
Who films their great escape from jail? It's nuts.
I couldn't believe it.
It's my worst nightmare. He's gonna kill me. I'm dead. He's a psychopath.
This was a story about greed, sadism, evil.
You cut off his penis? Why couldn't you just leave it there?
Jose Naeri was sentenced to life in prison without parole, and I'm joined now by the prosecutor who put him there, Matt Murphy. He's also a criminal defense attorney and author of the book of Murder, a prosecutor's journey through love and death. And Matt's a friend of the show. Matt, this story is bonkers, and you lived it, you worked it. Have you ever seen depravity at this level?
Actually, I got to tell you, I was in homicide for 17 years, and I did a bunch of serial killer cases, as you know. The cruelty and the wanton sadism that they visited upon that poor man is unlike anything I had ever seen. And they didn't just cut it off, they took it with them. Okay, so that final question that you just showed the clip of, I asked him, that's the question we all had. Why didn't you just leave it there so the poor guy would at least have a chance that it could get reattached? And what wasn't included in that clip is he immediately threatened me. He said, I'll give you an answer to that personally. And this is he's a scary guy. But of course, as a prosecutor in court, you want that to happen because you want the jury to see him angry. And he definitely delivered.
Yeah, I also want to show the viewers right now what Michael, and now you know why we're not using his last name, what Michael said in court when he was able to confront Naeri. It is super, super telling. Let's roll the clip. I want to ask you about it on the other side.
What kind of human being does such a thing? The complications of pain, both physically and psychologically, which are connected to this sick act, are so profound and deep that words cannot begin to express the depths of my pain. I have scars on my body from the burning of my skin due to the chemicals thrown on me and the taser burns.
Matt, I'll ask the question that Michael asked Naeri. What kind of a human being does something like this?
You know, I don't think any kind of human being does something like that, Ashley. I think that you've got to be inhuman. You have to be a monster to do that. And this is a guy who he schemed this whole thing out. And this was a case where the bad guy got away. You know, the bad guy, he made it back to his native country of Iran, and they're never going to extradite. So the normal move is you put a warrant in the system and you hope for the best. But I had such good detectives on this case and so many good lawyers, including the lawyer for her wife was my old boss in the homicide unit, a man named Lou Rosenblum, who is a genius. And we got together with the FBI and the U.S. Marshal's Office, and we started putting together a plan. Lou and the detective, Ryan Peters, put together this brilliant plan to lure him out of Iran, and it worked. And then he comes to Orange County Jail, and he friggin' escapes from the jail. So he was out for about a week with two men that were accused of murder. He left my photo on his bunk because, of course, by that time he knew everything that we'd done to fool him. This was the wildest case in my 26 years as a prosecutor.
I want the control room to roll that video, if we have it, of him filming his own escape. I think we've got some video of it, and since you just mentioned it, I wanted them to show that little piece of video. Just shocking. What an idiot, though, because 8 days later he was caught. I don't think do we not have that video of the filming the whole thing on Wait, it's coming. Hold on, it's coming. It's coming.
Yeah, there we go.
This is it. This is a cell phone video he shot filming his own escape from prison. Like, it's just, he's a horrible, despicable, barely human being, but also dumb as paint for having done this and shown everybody what he did. I mean, what evidence, you know. I wish I had more time to talk just about this, but I'm flat out of time. Matt, I cannot wait to see it. I'm going to give a promo here again. It's called The Wicked Game, Devil in the Desert. Thank you so much for being on.
Thank you for having me.
All right, Matt Murphy, and it is not the last time you'll see Matt. Like I said, friend of the show. Coming up, what happened in room 336? The seedy motel in Virginia is now home to one of the more infamous serial killer stories in America. But the mystery of what he did in that room is overshadowed only by the images outside that have him granted the title the shopping cart killer. Tell you why next.
New World Ideas. Morgan Stanley.
What really happened in room 336? The lawyer for a murder suspect named Anthony Robinson put that question to a jury last week in Virginia, and the jury spent all of 30 minutes deciding. Murder, they said, of two women a month apart in 2021 at a Howard Johnson motel in the town of Harrisonburg. The prosecutor said the victims, quote, entered the gates of hell when they met the suspect on a dating app and set foot in room 336. They would leave that room in shopping carts. Their dead bodies covered in sheets. They'd be dumped in the brush behind the motel parking lot. Each was dressed only in socks with a sweatshirt wrapped around her mouth and multiple injuries. Because the jury saw videos of Robinson rolling those bodies out of room 336, he was dubbed the shopping cart killer. He's suspected in at least 2 other murders for which he hasn't yet been charged. And this is where I bring in Catherine Ramsland, a forensic psychologist and a professor and author, most recently of The Serial Killer's Apprentice. Dr. Ramsland, the shopping cart seemed like an MO that he used a couple times. It almost sounds like it was a system he'd developed. Why should we think it was only twice?
Well, he's suspected in other murders that where shopping carts are part of it as well, so probably more than twice. I think he used the shopping cart for practical purposes. I think he had an idea in mind of where he would dump the bodies once he was done. And the shopping cart, he didn't have a car, so the shopping cart was the easiest way of getting rid of them. And leaving it made it just look like a trash dump.
What actually happened in room 336?
Well, it's likely that he tied them up. First, he met them on dating apps. He lured them to the motel. He probably tied them up because we know from one survivor or a woman who dated him who he didn't kill that that's what he wanted. He wanted to tie her up. He wanted to choke her. So we know that he brutalized them because he wanted power and control over them.
I think I read somewhere that he would actually sleep on the mattress in their blood. Do you think this was because he actually got off on that part of it, or was it just that he was so disgusting it didn't matter that he was sleeping on the murder scene itself?
Well, I mean, he worked in trash management and trash disposal, so he could have been that disgusting. And I think he enjoyed the feeling that these women had belonged to him. He did tell one woman he did not like being rejected, so it could be that they had done something that made him feel like that. He felt entitled to do what he wanted with them. And part of that would be sleeping in the bed that he killed them in.
What does it tell you that he used the dating apps to find these women, and that the women who responded would go to a motel like this after just meeting someone on an app? Was he finding the desperate?
I think he was finding the desperate. There was one woman who said he offered $500. So it's possible that he was offering money that he knew he wasn't going to pay. He did present himself as a normal person initially, a father of children, someone who's just trying to get ahead. And the women who lived said that at first he seemed okay, but then he would change. So he probably offered them money, or he offered something, or sweet talk them, whatever. And they went with him. And the fact that he would use a dating app said that he had some resources. Even though he was more or less homeless, living in motels, he had a phone and he had resources for being able to use that.
What a sick man, the shopping cart killer. They should add of room 336, to that. Dr. Ramsland, thank you so much. I always love talking to you about these weird things, but thank you for your insight.
Thank you.
Still ahead tonight, one of the biggest downsides I can think of to having a superstar for a parent. When you drive your Lamborghini onto the railroad tracks and get busted for DUI, the entire world hears about it. Coming up, Marcus Jordan on the right of, yes, the famous Jordan family, and his terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day.
Ms. Fernandez, what are those tiny things?
Those are called amoebas. You can only see them through a microscope.
Wow. Today's students are tomorrow's great thinkers and innovators. But right now, there's a funding crisis in public schools. Donors Choose is a nonprofit that lets you support students and teachers in your community and beyond. You could provide pencils and paper, help a music class get a guitar,
or even a science project for a classroom like mine.
Learn more at DonorsChoose.org.
Heads up, athletes, coaches, and parents. Play for life, not just points. Hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, or HCM, is the leading cause of sudden cardiac death, especially in black athletes in sports like football or basketball. If you feel shortness of breath, chest pain, and fatigue, or have a family history of HCM, talk to your doctor. Don't let HCM bench you for good. Learn how to stay in the game at heart.org/HCM student athlete. Your heart, your health, your move.
When the game is on the line, championship teams know the game plan. They communicate and work together to win. We all need a game plan to protect ourselves online. Talk to family and friends so they know how to stay safe too. Create strong passwords, turn on multi-factor authentication, update software, and recognize and report phishing, because online safety is not something you want to fumble. Get more game-winning tips at CISA.gov/secure our world. Then share them with family and friends.
Thanks for listening to NewsNation on the go. I'm Marnie Hughes. We're here for you 24/7 on the NewsNation app or on your Alexa. Just say play NewsNation.
The key to unlock the next breakthrough in cancer research could be sitting in your driveway. Stand Up to Cancer's vehicle donation program makes it easy to turn your unwanted vehicle into funding to support innovative cancer research. So when you're looking to get rid of your old car, truck, motorcycle, RV, or boat, why not donate it to Stand Up to Cancer? You can be a driving force in cancer research. Donate your car today. Visit standuptocancer.org/cars to learn more.
Plan on flying? It's time to upgrade to a Real ID. Because in order to board domestic flights, your driver's license or state-issued ID must be a Real ID, or you'll need another acceptable form of identification. So don't wait. Find out how to get your Real ID at tsa.gov/Real ID. That's tsa.gov/Real ID, or visit your local DMV. And then you'll be cleared for takeoff.
We asked parents who adopted teens to share their journey.
When I met both of them, it was like my missing pieces were found. Like it was just like an instant, these are my kids. If you're considering adopting a teen, just do it. Kids need families. I don't care the age. Everybody deserves a family.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. Visit adoptuskids.org to learn more. A message brought to you by Adopt U.S. Kids, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council.
Associates team has been a trusted solution to credit card debt, so 2025 really can be your path to debt freedom. Don't declare bankruptcy. Don't consolidate. Call now. A few minutes could save you thousands. Even better, there are no upfront fees. For your debt-free fresh start, call Credit Associates now. 1-800-655-1565. Live better, debt-free.
You know, it has to be tough being the, relatively ordinary son of one of the greatest superstars on the basketball court who, laced up sneakers. But I've got news for Marcus Jordan, 34 years old, son of, you guessed it, that guy, Michael Jordan. The judge you're going to face in Florida will not care. Marcus spent the night in the Orange County jail after speeding away in his $250,000 Lamborghini from the police who were trying to pull him over for a traffic offense. This video from TMZ Sports shows the pursuit from the officer's dash cam.
Hey, 512 Seminole vehicles, 12 Foxtrot, southbound 600.
The police soon caught up with Marcus Jordan when he got that Lambo stuck on some railroad tracks, seen in these photos and video, also from TMZ Sports.
You know the trains come by right now, right?
No, I know. That's why I'm trying to get